Good evening and thanks so much for joining us on your Thursday. I'm Sophie Erber. Governor Kim Reynolds signed a bill this morning that bans mask mandates in schools, cities, and county buildings across Iowa. Details now in our top story at 5. Bill HF 847, as it's known now, goes into effect immediately. And House Republicans are saying the amendment is the result of countless messages from Iowa families. Democrats say the amendment could harm those with compromised immune systems. Children aged 12 and under are also yet to have an authorized COVID vaccine. Governor Reynolds said in a statement, quote, "The state of Iowa is putting parents back in control of their child's education and taking greater steps to protect the rights of all Iowans to make their own health care decisions," end quote. The end of the mask mandate has already taken effect inside some SIOUXLAND businesses.
We are now recommending that you wear a mask in the store if you have not been vaccinated, but it's the customer's employee's choice on that matter.
KCAU 9's Jason Toktagian shows us how SIOUXLAND schools and businesses reacted to the end of this mask mandate that's coming up tonight at 6. Meanwhile, the Sioux City School District issued the following statement in regards to this new law. Quote, "Early this morning, Governor Kim Reynolds signed Bill HF 847 into law. The bill prohibits schools from mandating masks. This order went into effect immediately. Following the mandate, the Sioux City Community School District is lifting its mask and face covering requirement for all staff and students beginning today, May 20th. Our commitment to students and staff safety remains a top priority while the Sioux City Community School District is complying with the governor's bill. We support all who choose to continue to wear masks or face coverings," end quote. Under a newly signed piece of legislation, people 6 years of age and older will now be able to enter their local pharmacy and get a rapid test to determine a diagnosis and then immediately also receive a treatment following a positive test. They're calling this process Test and Treat. It's a more accessible, fast, and safe way children and parents can receive quick medical care. The legislation has not yet gone into effect, but officials say Test and Treat should be available in the beginning of fall this year. A Woodbury County Elementary School student has been suspended after officials say he made threats to shoot students at his school. The Woodbury County Sheriff's Office says that they became aware of the situation yesterday. They were able to verify that a BRONSON 6th grader made the threats. The school was notified and the student has been suspended for the remainder of the year. The Sheriff's Office says no students are in immediate danger and they are continuing to investigate this situation. Day 2 of the trial of the man accused of murdering Molly Tibbetts. Christian Rivera is charged with first-degree murder in this case. Today, the state interviewed a detective on the case. Now, he testified what exactly was found while reviewing the footage with another detective.
While I'm reviewing it, Agent George, he came up and he had asked me what I was looking at. As I'm reviewing the cameras, I show him what I'm looking for. I turned actually to say something to him, and he said, "I think I saw something there." I thought he was kidding at first, but I went back on the cameras, and then sure enough, we saw what looked to be like a jogger going through that frame.
Now, this here is the video that he was looking at, but there is a black speck towards the top of the end of the other street. They say that someone is running, and it's around the same time that Molly Tibbetts was on her run. The hurt caused by Molly's loss is still overwhelming in her hometown of Brooklyn, Iowa. Reminders of Molly are everywhere. Teal ribbons, her favorite color, line Jackson Street there, and Molly's initials are displayed at the high school football stadium. No matter the outcome of this trial, the Brooklyn community says they will be coping with this loss indefinitely.
It's difficult because it's not here, but I understand the reason why it's not here, because there were so many people that were probably prejudiced, and they wanted to give him a fair trial. But he did lead the police to Molly's body, and that to me is a point of guilty.
A number of people in the Brooklyn community say that emotions are still too raw to even watch the trial on TV. And back here in SIOUXLAND, the murder trial for a SIOUXLAND teenager accused of killing his friend last year is wrapping up tonight. Both the prosecution and the defense gave their closing statements today. This is in the case of 17-year-old Jaylee Newbaum. Newbaum is accused of shooting 16-year-old Joseph Hopkins last year. During the trial, the state tried to convince the jury that Newbaum shot Hopkins on purpose because he was angry. Newbaum and his defense team have claimed that the incident was a tragic accident. The jury is now deliberating the case, and we do have a reporter in Ottawa monitoring that situation. We will give you any updates as soon as they become available. Time now to turn our attention to the weather, and meteorologist Marcus Beasley standing by. Marcus, not quite as dreary as the weather we've had earlier in the week, but we did have a lot of clouds in SIOUXLAND today.
That's right, Sophie. Not too bad of a day temperature-wise throughout SIOUXLAND, and most of us staying dry even though we have had those clouds. There are some showers ongoing right now in parts of eastern SIOUXLAND and also that storm approaching Norfolk currently. Temperature-wise today, most of us reaching up into the lower 70s, right around 72 to 74 degrees throughout much of SIOUXLAND today. Here in Sioux City, reaching up to 72. Overnight tonight, we are going to see those clouds stick around. Low temperatures dropping down into the low 60s, so it is going to be a pretty warm night here throughout SIOUXLAND with comfortable temperatures. By tomorrow, it looks like we might actually see some sunshine, which we haven't seen really at all this week. And this weekend is going to be pretty hot. I'll have more details on that in the 9 on 9 forecast. Sophie?
All right, thanks, Marcus. We had decent weather for a carnival and a parade, and that is what folks over in the Morningside area are gearing up for later this evening. KCAU 9's Hannah Adamson joins us live now with a sneak peek of this year's Morningside Days. Hannah?
Sophie, we're about an hour and a half away from this year's Morningside Days parade. In fact, there are already some people out of frame that are setting up chairs along the parade route. But in the meantime, this year's carnival has just gotten started. Carnival workers here all day at the Morningside Library parking lot, hard at work, setting up booths and making last-minute inspections. The carnival will feature a Ferris wheel for the first time in years, a monster truck ride for kids and their parents, and of course, all your favorite carnival foods. This year's Morningside's Days will run until this coming Sunday, so if you can't make it out tonight, you still have plenty of time to get in on the action. Now, for a reminder of tonight's parade route down Morningside Avenue, participants will be marching down from Lakeport Road to Elwood Olson Stadium. Organizers tell me they cannot wait to hit the ground running, considering how COVID-19 canceled last year's fun. We'll hear directly from them and have more on today's festivities coming up tonight at 6 and 10. For now, reporting live in Sioux City, Hannah Adamson, KCAU 9 News.
All right, thanks, Hannah. Enjoy. And today, more than 1,000 free boxes of food were given out to local residents during a drive-through style event. This was all part of the USDA Farmers to Families Pick-Up program. It's a win-win for local families and local producers. The families get fresh, healthy produce, and the farmers can put their crops to good use. The event was made possible thanks to a joint partnership between the farmers, church, and Community Action Agency. Today's boxes were filled up with meat, dairy products, fruits, and vegetables, and they were all available to anyone who drove through the Sunnybrook Church needing a box.
Joining with the Community Action Agency, they're a great partner with us. We work together very closely. We believe that there's a lot of food insecurity in SIOUXLAND, and our goal is to one of the goals of the Hope Center is to help fill that need of food insecurity.
Next week, the Community Action Agency will be hosting their last food box giveaway for the year. Student athletes in SIOUXLAND had a hard time finding an indoor training ground, especially during our cold and snowy winter months. But now they have a state-of-the-art facility and right in their own backyard. Meet one of the driving forces behind the United Sports Academy in this week's edition of SIOUXLAND Stories.
The goal for the Sports Academy is, again, to have a space in SIOUXLAND where people can come and be able to compete at a high level.
Ben Oberle, the director of Turf Sports and Performance, tells us that goal was achieved at the United Sports Academy, a new venue that's constantly evolving into what's being called now a SIOUXLAND sports mecca.
Every time somebody comes in here, we've changed something in the last few months.
And even though this new facility is in its infancy, they're already home to indoor softball, baseball, soccer, volleyball, and basketball, along with new batting cages and a training gym. And if the building looks familiar to local residents, it should, once housing the massive Gateway computer operation.
Parents come in from Gateway Computers, they're like, oh my gosh, I don't even remember. Like, I remember this is where my desk was at. Like, they can show you, like, hey, this is where I physically was at. And so when we ripped the second floor out and put, the ceiling in, I mean, it's been really kind of a cool transformation that the building's had.
So what inspired this former college athlete to take the lead on such a large project?
We went up to Sioux Falls. We looked at the Performance Center from Era and the Sanford centers that they had up there. We went about a year ago this time. We went and toured that, and we said, hey, what's a great thing that we can bring to the SIOUXLAND area to be able to have a space indoor that, you know, during the Octobers, Novembers, Decembers, Januarys, Februarys, Marches, that it's still the bad weather, that we can actually be inside, have a space that people can train and be able to use, that they don't have to travel to Sioux Falls. They don't have to travel to Omaha. They don't have to travel to Des Moines.
And speaking of Des Moines,
I always say this kind of jokingly, but really serious. I'm so tired of being beat by Des Moines schools that we want a place that they can come in and to be able to train, to be able to be better. So we don't get beat. I'm tired of being beat.
and even though running this new sports mecca is a second career of sorts for Oberle, he says it's the perfect combination of his skill set.
Now that we have this space, you know, it's this United Sports Academy, we're able to unite the Dakota Valleys, the Sergeant Bluffs, the Helands, the Norths, the East, the West. 5, here we go, hit it, rhythm, Dante, come on, hit, let's go. We're able to kind of have a space where everybody can kind of come to and be able to kind of have that space where we can all get better as a community instead of just having these kind of small little places where, hey, we have access to this and this one has access to this, and it's kind of just a great space that we can all be able to get sports better in Siouxland.
And from an economic standpoint, Oberle adds it benefits the whole community.
Now the money in Siouxland stays in Siouxland. They don't have to go to Sioux Falls. They don't have to go to Omaha. They're staying here in Siouxland, which is what we wanted it to be. I mean, and it's a great reutilization of a gateway building that sat vacant for 12 plus years.
Now, if you're interested in signing up for any of the sports at the Academy, there is a link on our website, SIOUXLandProud.com. You can look for that later. Also, the batting cages are open to the general public. Well, the gun debate continues tonight on Capitol Hill. We'll explain what legislation might be coming before Congress coming up in about 11 minutes.
And it looks like the hot and muggy weather is going to continue this weekend. Our high temperatures, they'll rise into the 80s, and we'll still see some slight storm chances. Details on all of that after the break.
You're watching KCAU 9 News with Sophie Erber and meteorologist Marcus Beasley. This is KCAU 9 News at 5.
A little bit by the middle part of next week as temperatures will drop down into the low to mid 70s. Another slight chance at rain at 20% on Thursday. But the good news, next week is looking a lot more sunny compared to the cloudy, rainy weather that we've had all week this week.
That is good news. You realize what a premium the sun's at when you don't see it for multiple days in a row.
You almost forget what it looks like.
Right? All right, thanks so much, Marcus. Makes us thankful. Well, coming up next, top lawmakers in Washington expressing concern over plans to exit Afghanistan this fall. We'll explain why they say they're worried coming up in about 9 minutes. But first, witnesses testifying in front of lawmakers against mass shootings and other gun violence. What they say needs to be done to stop the mass killings coming up. Today, gun control advocates and victims of gun violence testified before lawmakers. They're now urging Congress to pass gun reform to stop the killings. D.C.'s Raquel Martin reports that Democrats and the White House say they're ready to act, but Republicans insist the proposal will not solve the larger problem.
So today, the subcommittee turns to the all too commonplace tragedy that is gun violence.
After a brief reduction in mass shootings during the pandemic, House Democrats say the recent resurgence of the problem emphasizes a need to pass a slate of new gun control measures.
America still remains as the battlefront of guns.
My daughter will be 14 forever.
Fred Guttenberg, whose daughter was killed in the Stoneman Douglas High School shooting back in 2018, was among the slate of victims and gun control advocates who testified Thursday.
Congress must take action to ban assault weapons and large capacity magazines, which have killed thousands of innocent Americans.
But across the board, Republicans remain opposed to Democrats' proposals. Ohio Republican Congressman Jim Jordan says gun control just won't solve the underlying problem.
This is a dangerous path they want to go down.
Jordan says Democrats' efforts are misguided.
They want to disarm law-abiding American citizens by depriving them of their constitutional rights.
Diana Moeller, a retired Tulsa police officer, told Congress more gun control will hurt marginalized or low-income communities the most.
Common sense is not making more rules, more laws, registrations, and fees that make protecting yourself a rich man's game. Gun control is steeped in racism.
President Biden is calling on Congress to ban assault weapons and tighten background checks immediately. House Democrats already passed a background check bill this year, but it faces an uphill battle with Senate Republicans. In Washington, Raquel Martin.
And lawmakers on Capitol Hill today discussed President Biden's Afghan withdrawal plan. We'll share why some top lawmakers say they're concerned coming up after the break. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill grilled top military officials today. They wanted answers to the Biden administration's plan to withdraw our troops from Afghanistan. Our Washington correspondent Rashad Hudson explains.
Thursday, lawmakers on the Senate Armed Services Committee pushed military leaders on what to expect after the U.S. finishes withdrawing troops from Afghanistan.
We have a moral obligation to help those that have helped us over the past 20 years.
The Taliban has not targeted the U.S. Or coalition forces.
Critics of the plan, like Alabama Senator Tommy Tuberville, hope it's not a mistake to pull out.
Sooner or later, we're going to have to understand why we get in these wars. We get them to win them.
Oklahoma Republican Senator James Inhofe opposes the withdrawal. He says plans should be based on conditions on the ground, not specific dates.
This was a calendar-based political decision.
Inhofe says the decision could have unintended consequences.
First, there's the risk of severe chaos and violence and instability.
Virginia Senator Tim Kaine says the U.S. has done its job in the region, and it's time to bring everyone home.
It took us 10 years to find and kill Osama bin Laden, the perpetrator and mastermind of the 9/11 attack. And then for 10 years, we've done our best to build up and train an Afghan security apparatus.
As of now, the Pentagon says they are sticking with President Biden's plan to leave the country by September 11th. In Washington, Rashad Hudson.
Taking a live look outside right now in Orange City, Marcus returns with one more check on your forecast. Stay with us. One of those nights where at least it's not raining, at least not yet in certain places. But if you look carefully, you can actually see the breeze moving the trees there, maybe a sign of a little inclement weather.
Yeah, we're experiencing a little bit of wind out there, some showers there in parts of eastern Siouxland as well. But tonight it looks like we'll just have mostly cloudy skies, pretty comfortable temperatures in the lower 60s there. Wind still a little breezy tonight around 10 to 15. Tomorrow we'll reach into the low 80s. We'll actually have some sunshine tomorrow for a change here in Siouxland. It looks like those 80s continue this weekend.
Love the way that sounds. Thanks, Marcus. Thank you for joining us. We hope you'll see us at 6. Good night.